Alright, welcome back. We're continuing to focus on the C strings. We've our program up to this point, if I click on run, yours should match what mine is. We've gone through two videos. In part one, we looked at what was a string and saw it was really an array of characters, and we printed out those characters, each entry in the array. We saw in a string the last entry is always the null character or 0, which is null. For part 2, we showed how the arguments that come in from the command line are actually passed in as an array of strings, and we showed the strings as an array here. For this part, we'll come scroll down and say this will be part 3. And remember, you should be following along and doing the code as well. So for this part 3, we're going to use one of the string functions that you use quite often. In fact, we've used it a few times in the course already, and that is string compare. So we'll say, we'll say if, well, let's do this. We'll say, if arg count is exactly equal to 1. In other words, all we did was enter the command. Then we'll say printf, please enter a color. We'll say red, green, or blue. Alright. And we'll say printf example %s red \n, and I'll say show the argument vector 0, which is the command, and then we'll say return 0. Okay, so let's take that one first. I'll click on run. Of course, it said we got to part 3. Please enter a color, red, green, or blue. For example, main red. Now, if we enter main red, we are going to continue on, and I'm going to say if argv of 1. And what I want to do, you may think you could do this, equals to red, right? But that would not be true because these are both pointers, and if you want to compare two strings, we need to say string compare. So the function you want to use to compare two strings is string compare. Let's compare red to argv of 1. Now, if and only if this says red and this says red, then this will be exactly equal to 0. So we'll say 0 is exactly equal to. In other words, this compare will only work if there's 0, and if that's the case, what we'll say is printf you entered red. And actually, let me do backslash. I'll say red backslash. I'm escaping the quotes so I can put quotes around the string here. Right, this says you want this to actually be part of the string. So the string compare, let's go ahead and click on run. I'll come over here and clear my screen. Let's say I said main red. Notice it says you entered red. let's say else if 0 is exactly equal to string compare. How about green? Argv of 1. We'll say printf you entered, and I'll say backslash double quote green backslash double quote backslash n else if 0 is exactly equal string compare. How about blue? Argv of 1. Same thing here. Printf you entered backslash double quote blue backslash double quote backslash n else. So in this case you didn't enter anything correctly, so we'll say printf bad input. We'll just do that for now, backslash n. So if I run this, then I'll come over here and click on clear, or type in clear. I'll say main red, says I entered red. If I say main blue, says I entered blue. But if I say main, how about yellow? Bad input. So the skill in this video, and we've used this before, but now we're basically drilling down a little more. String compare is a very common string function when you're wanting to compare two strings. And as we know, many times you want to read in commands from the command line, and this string compare is a good way to handle that. And in fact, you could say that as we've been through, let me go up here to the top, as we've looked at this string.h header file, I would argue two of the most used functions out of here is string length, which we used in I think that was on our video part 1 of this lesson. We showed string length. And then in this video, doing the string compare. There are many other string functions in that header file, but certainly string length and string compare are probably the most used, and probably actually string compare is the most used at all, since you're often wanting to compare two strings, particularly when you're doing command line handling. Okay, as always, get your code to match what we've got here. This is now our part 3, and make sure your code matches mine. I'm Norman McIntyre. Thanks as always for watching.